The sleeping dragon has awoken. After being relegated to the geopolitical sidelines for much of the previous 2 centuries, China has begun to reassert its place at the center of global affairs. Market reforms and integration into the global economy have given Beijing significant coercive power, which has been followed in recent years by the acquisition of military hardware. Understandably, these developments have stirred anxieties across Asia-Pacific, but the balance of power is the scale of peace, and some nations have begun forming a pact to contain China. Dubbed as the Asian NATO, the newly revived Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, or Quad for short, consists of Australia, India, Japan, and the United States. Banded together by a shared set of interests, Quad is fast becoming the leading body for Asia-Pacific security. But what is Quad? Where does it come from? What are its objectives? And can it bring about a strategy of containment to keep China in a state of slumber? I'm your host Shirvan, and welcome to Caspian Report. Today's episode is sponsored by CuriosityStream, a streaming service that offers thousands of documentaries from some of the world's best filmmakers. It's the Netflix for nerds or the Hulu for history buffs. CuriosityStream works on most platforms, it's available worldwide, and they frequently add new content. If you want some suggestions in the context of Asia-Pacific, have a look at The Return of the Trade Wars, The Power of Choice, and Pax Americana. These documentaries will contribute to your understanding of Asia-Pacific. I know it helped me. Using our link below, you will get unlimited access for just $2.99 a month or $19.99 for the whole year. That is a bargain and a great way to support Caspian Report because it allows us to make more content. If you want to test things out, you can. There's a 30-day free trial available. Just go to curiositystream.com/Caspian and use the promo code Caspian during the sign-up process. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest, so make use of the offer. The 2004 Boxing Day Tsunami was a catastrophe of a kind rarely seen in modern times. An earthquake measuring 9.2 in magnitude occurred off northwest Sumatra, bringing a 30-meter wave that devastated coastlines across the Indian Ocean. Within hours, nearly 230,000 people across 14 different countries lost their lives. As aid began to pour in from across the globe, Australia, India, Japan, and America took the lead in coordination relief efforts. Over the next 9 days, this improvised coalition helped contribute over 40,000 troops and humanitarian workers, as well as dozens of helicopters, ships, and transport planes. It was an inspiring multinational effort and a welcome departure from the cynical calculus that often dominates international affairs. The mission ended in January 2005 when the United Nations assumed responsibility. The success of the improvised coalition generated excitement within diplomatic circles over the potential for a permanent institutional body. The idea was championed by Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who wanted to tempt India into the American-led security umbrella that included Australia. By doing so, Abe believed that India would counterbalance China and help promote the cause of democracy in Asia. New Delhi, recognizing an opportunity to secure Washington's support for its nuclear program, accepted the offer. And in early 2007, the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue was formed. Over the next few months, lines of communications were opened, and the 4 nations conducted joint naval exercises in the Bay of Bengal. However, the anti-China purpose of Quad was evident from the start, and before long, Beijing was making complaints to the bloc's individual members. This diplomatic pressure began to cause rifts within the group. As it turned out, neither Canberra, New Delhi, nor Tokyo was willing to sacrifice their relationship with Beijing to benefit Quad. When forced to make a choice, bilateral relations with Beijing trumped each state's obligations to one another. Australia's exit from the group in early 2008 merely confirmed what was already known. A year later, Quad faded into obscurity. Nevertheless, political ideas have a shelf life that extends well beyond their original historical context. In recent times, increased tensions in Asia-Pacific have reinforced the need for an alliance structure to maintain the Asian balance of power. At the forefront of the efforts to revive Quad is the United States, which is looking to complete its pivot towards Asia first proposed by President Barack Obama. With 3 of Asia's most prominent states as members, much of the commentary surrounding Quad has focused on its ability to stifle China's attempts to achieve Asian hegemony. Therefore, under President Joe Biden, Washington will look to revive the quadrilateral security dialogue. However, the American strategy will be constrained by 2 crucial factors. Firstly, Chinese military power, in particular its missile umbrella, is unchallenged between the Himalayas and the Sea of Japan. There are multiple layers in China's defense. The closer to the mainland, the stronger China's anti-access area denial capabilities become. Foreign power projection is nearly unbearable in the inner circle. This then effectively rules out direct military intervention. Secondly, while in the past Washington used economic warfare to coerce its enemies, China is now far too integrated into the global economy to be isolated. Most countries trade more with China than they do with the United States, so Washington will have to continue trading with Beijing or cede the benefits of trade to others. Putting it differently, to contain China, traditional measures such as economic sanctions and military interventions will not do. Instead, like the Cold War, America's grand strategy in Asia will likely be one of containment, necessitating a NATO-like alliance. Given the geography of East Asia, this will take the form of sea denial, a strategy whereby hostile naval forces are prevented from gaining control of the nearby sea lines of communication. As such, joint exercises between the 4 navies have recently been renewed, and should Quad's navies become fully interoperable, they could act to coerce China by threatening vital shipping lanes. In addition to the unmatched sea power of the United States Navy, Quad's member states each have territorial assets located at strategic choke points in Southeast Asia and along the first island chain, which runs from the island of Borneo along the Philippines to the coast of Japan. In the west, the Andaman and Nicobar Islands provide India with a launchpad to project naval power into the Strait of Malacca. Additionally, the Australian territory of Cocos Island may prove valuable in plugging the alternative trade routes that run through the Sunda Strait and the Lombok Strait. The territory's airstrip is currently being upgraded to accommodate maritime patrol aircraft, and the further development of the facility could lead to increased power projection capabilities. In the east, the United States will look to cooperate with Japan, using its facilities in Okinawa and its informal alliance with Taiwan to project power across the East China Sea. While this will not be sufficient to control the oceans, a maritime denial strategy would seek to contain the Chinese Navy by keeping it occupied in its backyard. Ultimately, since permanent fortifications are not possible in deep waters, China's regional sea power will continue to be probed by geopolitical rivals. Having said that, policymaking is never that easy. If the first iteration of Quad is anything to go by, the divergent interests of the 4 nations may prove to be a sticking point. Australia, the Quad member most dependent on China for its economic prosperity, is now at a historical crossroads. The year 2020 saw Sino-Australian relations reach their rock bottom over issues such as COVID-19 and mutual accusations of human rights abuses. Retaliatory tariffs and trade measures have caused significant problems for Australia's agricultural industries, and while China still depends on Australian minerals for its construction projects, security concerns are pushing Beijing to diversify away from Australia. Nevertheless, Canberra remains firmly pro-American, and it is unlikely that Sino-Australian relations will improve anytime soon. In India, it's unclear whether New Delhi's interests east of the Malacca Strait are sufficient to bind it to a permanent alliance. While territorial disputes in the Himalayas have driven New Delhi to confront Beijing, India's primary foe is Pakistan, not China. Moreover, in terms of trade, India is generally more oriented towards the west than the east. While India still trades considerably with East Asia, this accounts less than half the value of its trade with Europe and the Middle East. So New Delhi has its reasons not to risk a confrontation with its most powerful neighbor. Japan, for its part, is perhaps the most committed of the Quad members to Chinese containment. This is due both to its geographic proximity and its high degree of integration into the US alliance system. However, although Japan has disputes with China over the Senkaku Islands and attempts at historical revisionism, Tokyo's rhetoric towards its western neighbor has been more muted in recent times. Once more, the concern is maintaining economic ties. Tokyo must play a delicate balancing act between security and prosperity, and thus will not want to rock the boat so easily. Even if these concerns are somehow addressed and Quad develops into a stable alliance, it will still have to strengthen its ties to Southeast Asia and the nations in the first island chain to close the gaps in its sea denial strategy. That means gathering Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines into a second-tier alliance. This will require soft power influence that goes beyond merely containing China. A commitment to upholding a rules-based order of international law and democratic values may look good on paper, but unless these ideas are matched by tangible results on the ground, they are unlikely to win new friends. While some countries like Vietnam have remained firmly opposed to creeping Chinese influence, Beijing has been able to win over Cambodia and Laos through foreign direct investment, economic aid, and the provision of military hardware. Moreover, India has excluded itself from signing the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, a free trade deal that could set the rules of the Asian economic ecosystem in the years ahead. Without an economic counterweight to China in this platform, the relative importance of Chinese trade may cause more ASEAN countries to enter Beijing's orbit over time. Still, in spite of the challenges, the current situation in Southeast Asia presents Quad with two clear opportunities to score diplomatic points. The first is COVID vaccination. At a virtual summit in March 2021, Quad pledged to provide Southeast Asia with 1 billion COVID vaccine doses by the end of 2022. If successful, this could help Quad establish genuine soft power influence in China's backyard, something that Beijing has thus far failed to achieve. Secondly, Tokyo and New Delhi are uniquely well positioned to address the current political crisis in Myanmar, where the military seized power from the civilian government. Even after the West pulled investment out of Myanmar in response to the Rohingya persecution, Japan continued to invest in the country and provide economic aid. Using this leverage, Tokyo brokered a ceasefire between the military and rebel groups in 2019. Additionally, New Delhi, through its Act East policy, has established deep connections with the Burmese military. Through these activities, Tokyo and New Delhi may be able to negotiate a peaceful resolution through backroom channels. So, certain programs, such as the COVID vaccinations and the crisis in Myanmar, provide opportunities to assert geopolitical designs. In summary, the advent of China will draw the powers of Asia into a balancing coalition which will be constrained by strategic factors to pursue a policy of containment. Quad, while not currently a military alliance, may form the basis of a containment bloc that performs a role like that of NATO during the Cold War. However, as demonstrated by the failure of the first Quad, an alliance rooted in pure self-interest may not hold together. Through its inspiring actions in the wake of the 2004 tsunami, Quad demonstrated its legitimacy. A robust soft power policy is essential, otherwise the current Quad will suffer the fate as the first, that of 4 partners sleeping in the same bed but dreaming different dreams. I've been your host Shirvan from Caspian Report. If you like what we do, please leave a like, comment and subscribe, and mayhaps check out the links in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and Sahol.